Hi, here we are again. These weeks go quick. That's absolutely for sure. Soon to be screaming into Christmas, and we've got the Christmas weather already. Rain, so that's just handy. Obviously, another storm coming, just what we need. Few things to talk about before I get my guest on tonight, and you're going to find this one really interesting as well. It's a few things that have come out of a little tech chat we had before we came on air, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. First thing, of course, this is the Flux review live broadcast. So let me just tell you about the Flux Review magazine. This is the latest edition. I know that Lisa is working on the next one as we speak, but this is the current one, and it's also available as a hardback edition as well. So you can see that. You can get that in places like Waterstones. You can get it online on the fluxreview.com, but you can also obviously read it, and fantastic artist interviews inside, loads of stuff going on in the art world, all in there. And Lisa does this all on her own. So really quite a fantastic magazine to go and purchase. And of course, the next thing from that is the fact that the next Flux exhibition, if you were at the Bomb Factory in London in July last year, well, next year on 15th to 18th of May, those dates yet to be absolutely finalised, but that's where it's planned for. Flux exhibition again, same venue. The Bomb Factory, fantastic venue, tons of artists, three great big rooms full of artists for you to walk around and speak to some amazing people. Quite a lot of which I've actually had on this live broadcast, which then leads on to the next little thing. It's not like this. It's not that Lisa's got not anything to do, but there's also the Collectible Club coming soon, which is going to be sometime this month, I believe. And this is going to be a new way of collecting art. They're going to, you're going to be able to buy a raffle ticket and all sorts to be able to, perhaps own an amazing piece of art for like next to nothing, really. Because just at the cost of a ticket. So this is one thing, but there'll also be other things in there, ways that you can buy into your favorite artists, the ones that are obviously part of Flux too. And then I've got a bit of a kind of exciting news for me, really. This is this is quite amazing. I first met my guest next week. I first met in 2012. I say met because we've only ever conversed online via Facebook and a few emails. But 2012, we were both doing a similar thing, creating artwork with a camera. But next week's guest does it completely different to anybody else I know, because she puts a wetsuit on, gets into a swimming pool with her camera, and she has her models dive in the other end. And then she produces work like this. So these are essentially underwater portraits. She's quite amazing, actually, and her work, multi award winning artist, truly fantastic. She's in California, so it'll be 11 o'clock her time. You can see from the kind of work that she does just how good she is. So that is going to be an absolutely fascinating next week for me to talk to her. And also, it'll be the first time I've actually physically spoken to her. So it'll be really, really cool. Right. So let's now look. This week's guest. Well, some stuff that's come out in our little chat has blown my mind. Dragon boat racing, all sorts has gone on. Quite fantastic, really, what she's done. And obviously, as I always do, I've put a video together of her work, and then we'll bring her in, bring Amanda in, and we'll have a chat. So I now realise probably sent you all to sleep with my spa type music. I wanted something that was a bit seascapey, and I didn't realise that just how candles and all sorts needed to be coming in there. But let's bring Amanda in now. If she's still awake, that is, of course. Hi,
Yeah,
Amanda.
yeah. Even I was bored with that one.
Oh dear, yeah. I wanted something that had a bit of, a bit of the sort of sea in the background, and yeah. Well, perhaps I should have played that a few times to myself and realised that actually it was more akin to a spa than anything else. Anyway, welcome. Really nice to see you. I see you've water. Is that, or is that a nice glass of wine, perhaps?
I think
Yeah. Well, I think. Oh, Ribena.
yeah, yeah. Struggling with a cold this week, so
Yeah.
medicinal drinking.
Oh, medicinal. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course it is. That's exactly what you want. Now, look, I'm going to jump straight into this first bit because let me just switch you over to the other side, because then I can drop down in the right place. Dragon boat racing.
yeah,
Come on, where did that come from? Well, we've done a few fluxes together, never come up. But let's have a little look here. Look, um, World Championships, Hungary, um, and gold medal.
yeah,
First on the rostrum.
yeah.
How on earth did you get into that?
I just love being on water or next to the water or by the sea, and I think it was finding a sport that meant I could do that. And yeah, I just discovered dragon boating and seemed to take to it like a duck to water, as they say. And yeah, then started getting quite competitive. And then I had to reach a certain level, and then went up for time trials, and then did lots and lots of training. All the training was pretty much in London, so I was up there every
Okay.
weekend training, and on the Thames.
Yeah.
But yeah, did it for lots of years actually. Went all over the world with it. Yeah, but the I quit when I was ahead, so I quit when I was in Hungary. Two
Yeah.
gold medals, and I'm thinking, right, that's it.
Yeah.
Hang my
That's
pants up
well
now.
done. That's absolutely amazing. I mean, you have to have things that you kind of become a box ticker. Um, and for me, it was running the London Marathon. I did it twice. Never again. Can't stand running. Hated it,
Yeah,
but
well
did
done.
it for MS because it's in my family. But happy to go on the bike, but running, no. But that was a big box tick for me, doing the London Marathon. That was one of those life things for me. But getting 2 gold medals for Great Britain, that's absolutely fantastic. Well done. Um, so you're here to talk about your art, of course,
Yes, yeah.
not your dragon boat racing. Just tell me how you actually became an artist. What was it? Did you do it at school? Did you go to uni? Did you do any of that? Or did you just suddenly one day think, you know what, I quite fancy doing a bit of painting?
No, I was always an arty child, and I used to walk around with a sketchbook under my arm as a small child, and I used to make the class laugh because I used to do caricatures of the teachers.
Hmm.
So that was always my thing. Was not that I do any caricatures now, but it used to be quite funny giving the teachers extra long noses or bigger ears or whatever, accentuating their features. And then life took over then. So getting a job which was going to pay money, and I did lots and lots of different jobs. Had a family, and yeah, the art was always just a hobby in the background. I always did my daughter's homework for art. That was always good fun. But yeah, it's always there, but never considered it as a career move until lockdown. Lockdown was when it all started. So
It's yeah,
I'm
and
still I'm still a young painter. I've only been doing it for 4 years.
and it's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people started something during lockdown. I
It's
think
way
if you've
up
ever
there,
seen
isn't it?
if you've ever seen that show, The Piano, some of the people that actually end up sitting in the station and playing, and then they say, "Yeah, I taught myself during lockdown." You think, "What?"
Yeah.
But of course, it was such a period of time where you had nothing else to do. You might as well, I suppose, those 4 years that you've been painting, the big section that you were in lockdown is the equivalent of way more time.
Yes, yeah. I had nothing. I didn't even have to clean my
Nothing.
because I didn't have any visitors. So
No,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So you're an acrylic artist, is that correct?
Well, mixed media, I'd say,
Really?
because I
Okay.
do throw other things into it, into the mix. And but it's mainly acrylics. I don't get on with watercolor. I will use oil occasionally, but it's mainly acrylics and collage.
Yes, we'll get onto the collage in a bit as well because up until you you liked the post for this on Instagram, I didn't even know you did the collage stuff. So we'll talk about that too. I've got the page up. We'll bring that up in a bit. So inspiration then. So am I right in saying that the inspiration comes from a lot from where you live? Which part of the
Yes,
country you're
yeah.
in?
I live in Devon. I love Devon. I'm from Devon, but I live in Teignmouth now. And if anyone's ever been there, it's just the most beautiful coastline, gorgeous red stone cliffs, lovely sea. They call it the English Riviera, and I think there's a good reason for that. But
Hmm.
where I live, I have a view of the Jurassic coastline, so I can see all the way round to Portland.
And
So,
do you? And so, are you an artist that takes your easel down to the coast and sits there and paints, or are you an artist that
no, no,
photographs it,
I
comes
take
back,
it in my
or
head.
I
It's
take it in your head?
lots, yeah, lots of
Interesting.
photographs, but
Yeah.
yeah, my composition literally just comes from the feeling of being on the water because I paddleboard as well. So
Right.
it's sometimes I'm on my paddleboard looking back at the cliffs, and
Yeah.
sometimes I'm walking my dog on the beach looking out at sea. But it's always just the feeling. It's just a lovely, joyous place to live.
So that feeling then that you're talking about could change depending upon what the weather is, because obviously that view that you're looking at is going to change as well.
Yeah, you
So
get moody, dark skies, but then
yeah,
exciting.
yeah. So that would probably potentially maybe even change a picture that you're thinking of doing and see. I mean, I'm saying this because it happens to me sometimes that I think, come up with an idea of a picture and I know what I'm going to do, and then suddenly I'll see an amazing sky or something different that's that's what I've been looking for, and that bring that into that same idea, but it changes a bit just because I've gone somewhere, I've listened to a bit of music even sometimes. So it just depends what I'm doing. So let's bring up a couple of bits of your work. Let's bring me out the way and come back up to this one. So here, um,
Utopia
I
list, yeah, that's not so much a seascape.
no, it's not. No, I
Yeah,
can see that.
that's
But
more sunrise than the fields, the rolling fields in front of me.
yes, now my question I'm going to ask you, which is one I ask every artist actually, how do you choose your color palette?
That's about the only thing I predetermine.
Hmm.
I will change it at the end sometimes, but I will put out colours that I just enjoy. So they're very much on the palette of blues and turquoise, and then the oranges. And I think it's all about the sea, the sky, and I have the best sunrises here because I see the sun coming out of the water. So yeah, again,
And have you?
that's very much, yeah, down on the sea. So
Has there been anybody sort of that's influenced your style, or is this just come from you and this you've not really been influenced by anybody at all?
I I don't think my work looks like anybody else's. I think it's quite
Mm.
unique, but I have artists I admire. One in particular in Cornwall called David Mankin. He does a Cornish coastal scene, and you can just see his big pieces. And they're very abstract, but you just know they're the Cornwall beaches where the sea's much rougher. But I think the palette is very much my thing, but not this one again. This, yeah, I don't think I've seen anything like that before.
No, and so there's been a few artists that I've interviewed who have sort of said, "Oh, we find it a little bit difficult to find our style," or etc., etc. But I don't think that's true. I think that most artists that I've walked around at Flux, for instance, and spoken to and looked at, it's their work.
Yeah.
because they are different. And you know that this is yours because, again, there's a cohesion between all of these that says this is your work. It's not
Yeah.
that they're all
Sweeping strokes and the
yeah,
colour in them.
and it's not that they're all sort of random styles either. It's they are, it's very obvious when you look at them. You can see that that this is your style. It's some of it's really quite bold, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, bold and vibrant and saturated and fun.
So then the next question then is, when you're doing something like this, and what determines the title?
Oh, sometimes the title is as I'm working, and sometimes I cannot think of a title at all. And I even in the last year, I've even used AI to help me with titles, because I've got so many pieces that are called coastal something or something about the sea that have almost like I don't want to come up with the same one. So yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, look, I really hate the use of AI in art now, but coming up with the titles a different way.
Yes.
The fact that someone can just be very clever at the way they type a few words and it generates a picture and then they can sell that. I just find that wrong. However, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's
No, no,
plenty of people out there that will
yes,
disagree with that. That, and now we're getting to the point where someone can come actually say, you know what, I'd really like to create a film with James Dean in it, and they can. That it just you're going to get to a point we're not going to know anything whether anything's real or not. And I think we're probably there already.
yeah.
So again, if I just flick through those ones that we've just looked at, you can see they're all your style. Colors, no, though. And then we jump onto another one here. Again, completely different color wise, but you can see the same style in the image. Give me an idea, give me a sense of sort of what sort of size these pictures are.
That particular one is I think it's 60 by 40, but I do a lot of small ones, 30 by 30. But yeah, they do vary in size. I think one of the ones you showed there was like a 60 by 60. But that particular scene is that's actually where I used to train in dragon boating, and I dreamt that one and
Oh,
painted it. But it's not of the sea, but it could almost be any sort of little inlet or canal that you
yeah.
do in many cities,
Hmm.
with the big buildings at the end. And I actually posted it online, and someone said, "Oh gosh, is that Haven Banks?" So I then named that one afterwards and called it A Taste of Haven. But Haven Banks is where I used to train with my dragon boating. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. I mean, I've got street scenes that are made up of multiple buildings from all over the country. It's amazing how many people think they know where that is,
Yes. Yeah.
and it's quite interesting, isn't it? How you can give a sense of somewhere without actually it
Yeah.
being
Said
that
Cardiff or
place.
Liverpool or something.
Yeah, you're when you're doing something like this though, um, do you actually have a plan, or do you? And where do you start? Where's your starting point with something like this? Well, in fact, let me just. These are obviously quite clear what they represent, but coming back to this one, where would your starting point be?
I think that one literally had a lot of happy accidents. So I had my palette in mind, and I use lots of different tools. So I'm not using just brushes. I use credit cards and palette knives,
Oh,
and even used the dog's flea brush to get some nice scratchy marks in. And I'll layer. So I just grab anything because
Does
it's got the layers. Yeah. Then when you scratch it back, you get the colours underneath.
I take it the dog's all right with that, is
Yeah,
it?
he's never had fleas, so he's all right. Yeah.
Never had fleas, but he's coated up in paint.
Yeah.
So when you're when you're are you starting? Sorry, are you starting from a primed canvas? Is that your
Yes,
starting point?
I'll
Yeah.
prime the
Okay.
canvas and I'll put
Yeah.
a colour down. And I know on my Instagram I've got a few on reels where I've shown my process, where I've
Hmm.
literally put on a really bold colour on the base, and then toned it down, and then put on other colours. And then I there's a lot of my work you'll find it has a perspective. It's the idea is it would take you in. It takes you into somewhere magical and fun and
yeah. So that is, and I can see that in this, and that's interesting. Perspectives really one of those things that you can spend a long time doing it. Absolutely, put the point in the middle, bring your lines out, everything right, so that you know that the perspective's working. But actually, I don't know about you, but I just find it either looks right or it doesn't.
yeah.
And therefore you can make your adjustments to get the decent bit of perspective in there. You want this one in particular. You want people to look into the distance and feel that they could almost
Keep
walk.
their eyes in, so there's little bits of interest that keep
Yeah.
their eyes sort of walking, going around. And I think,
So,
yeah, with
and
art,
is this based on somewhere? Is it based on
no,
somewhere?
no,
No.
that's
Okay.
purely from my wild imagination, that one.
Yeah, you see, and people think I smoke Skittles, but I think you're probably on a par here with some things you're doing. It's
Yeah, I
great.
sometimes
I know.
I don't even think it's me. I think I get in the zone, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think I've got some guardian angels that help me out at times.
Well, we'll come on to that, actually, that comment. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Um, so,
That's quite realistic. That looks
yes,
pretty much like Holcombe Beach, which is just down the road from me.
right.
It's
So
got a rock that looks a bit like that called Shag Rock.
it looks quite amazing, actually. It's again, you've got a good bit of depth. You've been quite clever, if you don't mind me saying so, with those lines that you've got sort of in the shadow in the water is giving you the perspective as well, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
quite a clever, and you've also so this is also a photography technique in that you want the light in the foreground there to so that you walk into the picture.
yeah.
That looks very good. That's quite it's quite an interesting. I can see this is not just let's get the brush, let's get cracking. There's a good lot of thought goes into what you do, which is
I think
I've got a
constantly bounce between making a decision, and then just getting in the zone again. So I'm sort of bouncing between the two the whole time. And that
and
is definitely more realistic. It's not based on anywhere; it's completely made up. But
is it?
yeah, I
Right,
didn't
look,
have
it
any.
looks
I never worked from a reference photo. I say never. My last giant piece, I decided to once I'd started painting it, it reminded me of a local view. So I then decided to put the detail in. So I then got a photo of it, but I don't normally work from photos. I like to keep it loose, and then if I don't work from a photo, I can't get it wrong now. So
Well, I suppose there is that. That's true, but yeah, that's true.
I think too
um,
many artists beat themselves up and are afraid of failure. So
yeah,
I don't set myself up for failure. Then the failures happen, and I just paint over it with something else that I do like. So
and that look, considering that you've, as you say, you're 4 years in.
yeah,
Um,
I'm prolific. I think
yeah,
artists that have been painting a lifetime haven't got as much work as I have.
no, that's. But is that also there's a time element here, isn't there? Actually being able to have the time to do it.
Yeah,
So
I am
we're
full
kind
time.
of
Yeah,
yeah. We'll come back to those in a sec. Let me just bring us back to here. Um, yeah, so I'm interested to know how you actually got to that point because I know you had a business that your husband now runs.
yeah,
This is where I'm coming back to that guardian angel thing, because I was told a while ago that I had a purple aura. This I can't remember what he called it, but this particular woman all dressed in purple was looking after me and blah blah blah. I told you that at Flux. You gave me this,
yeah,
which is actually your that's the business that you
yeah,
had, which your husband now runs. There's told you there's things that happen when we were purple, which is quite bizarre. But has that, you starting that business, your husband now running that, what's that done? Has that given you the time to paint?
Yes, totally.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think we all know that unless you're Damien Hirst or somebody like that, you're never going to make an absolute fortune out of art. Well, you're not going to make enough money often to sustain a decent lifestyle. And we all have something else we do.
Yeah. I started with very, very humble beginnings. You know, as sort of in a council house after. Well, my parents had a pet shop, so I used to live in the flat above a pet shop. But yeah, started with very humble beginnings. But now, in the words of Greg Wallace, I'm now a middle-aged woman of a certain age.
Oh, I didn't think it'd take too long. Didn't think it'd take too long.
Yeah, I'm badass, and yeah, I think that's gonna haunt him for the rest of his life. That comment.
Well,
All coming up before we're going to take over the world anyway. All these middle class women of a certain age, we'll be running all the countries. That's for sure.
Well, it's probably not before time either. In truth, yeah. Well, I think it's funny. It's a funny thing with art, because art is so subjective, and you know, somebody would like yours who wouldn't like mine, and the other way round. Same with every artist, which is why Flux is such a diverse exhibition. So many different artists there, and you don't walk in and see two artists doing exactly the same thing.
No, that's what's
There's a
about it.
beautiful way that it's curated so that the art exhibition actually flows. And I think also it's a thing about being able to talk to people, and that's the thing. You know, you were there. You were there every day, weren't you? Last time. Yeah, and it makes a real big difference that you're actually able to speak to people that are potential buyers, and even if they're not, they start following you, seeing what work, and then suddenly months later they get in touch to say, "Oh, are you doing another exhibition? We'd love to come see you," etc., etc. And I also think another thing, particularly with Flux as well, is the more times you're able to do it, the more people trust that you're going to be there next time.
Yeah.
And I think that again is another important factor. Do you see your work as telling a story, or you've already said about it being a feeling? Do you think it's more about conveying a particular feeling?
Yeah, I don't think there's definitely nothing dark in my work at all. It's all very joyful and uplifting, and I think the sort of people who buy it tend to want something that's going to give them a bit of joy. So it's going to sort of liven up their space, and it's got good energy. I think my work has good energy because I have good energy. So
yeah, and I think I think also one of the other things that is important is that you're able to talk to people that have come to see your work, and then once you start explaining what you do, how you do it, where your work is from, they start to get it. And I think that a lot of the times they're I don't know, well, I don't know how you feel, but one of the things that sort of upsets me the most is when people walk past and don't even look. And I feel like I want to run after them and drag them back and go, right, come on, tell me, why didn't you even bother looking?
No,
And
I've got friends who don't get my work at all, and they unless it looks realistic, they just don't get it. But that's fine because that there's people out there that like my work, and I know that now because I'm actually selling quite well at the moment, and
yeah, good.
And it's so lovely. I opened my home studio for the first time this year, and it was open for 2 weeks. The first week was quite quiet, but those few people that did come were telling all their friends how lovely it was and how much work I had on show. And the second week, I had loads of people, really lovely people, with lots of sales, and yeah, it was just really nice. Yeah.
So
speak to them.
Do you have like an artist at home type thing, or is it the Devon Massive or what?
Devon, yeah, Devon Open Studios.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks in September, and yeah, it was the best thing I did, and I'll be doing it again next year.
Yeah, I mean, my cousin lives in Lewis, and they have one down there. He used to live in Chiswick, and they had one there as well. It seems to be quite a thing actually to have a sort of.
Yeah,
Obviously, you need to live in an area where there's a decent amount of artists, so they've got people they can go around different areas.
yeah. I think the
Um,
people who live right in the sticks were struggling to get the visitors, but yeah, I'm about a mile out of Teignmouth, up on the hill.
so who have you got? Who else have you got? I mean, Diana Lowry's down there as
Yeah,
well,
she's
isn't
in
she?
the English Riviera as well. Yeah.
And what about Jane Farley? Is she there too, or is
Yes,
she a
yeah,
bit further? Yeah,
she's
yeah,
well, she's more a little bit more inland, but yeah,
yeah.
spent lots of time on the coast. But
So
yeah,
there's a few of you,
yes. Well,
which
in
is good.
fact, that's made me think. I've actually part of a new group. We're a group of 8, and we've called ourselves 8, and we are all very different artists, but all on the same page where we want to go with it.
Mm.
We're working together, a collaborative. That can't even say that one, but to
Have another drink.
yeah, put on shows and things like that, because our work it includes Diana in that, who you already know, but there's 8 of us, and all awesome women and all awesome artists, and I think it's going to be exciting, yeah, to put some little shows on around the country.
Yeah, and it is a good idea. To be fair, I mean, it's. I don't often say this. We have got somebody dropped a little comment in, which is
You're a champion.
um, it was Di Levy.
Ah,
Or no, Di Levi, is it? Or
yeah,
Levi?
yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah,
that's her
yeah.
stage name. So yeah,
Is it? Ah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So we kind of I think this is another thing that that happens too when you do spend a bit of time with a few artists at Flux. You do have a bit of a chat. You do sort of see what other people are doing. You can do it, and really, that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to do this live broadcast, is to sort of highlight the artists, because PR is one of the hardest things to get um, if you can't pay for it.
yeah,
And the idea of sort of behind this as well is for you to say to people, look, if you want to, see what I'm all about, etc., just point them in the direction of this video on YouTube.
yeah,
Um, Especially if they can't get to an exhibition to see you. Um, Now we touched on this a little bit earlier, so I'm just going to bring this up now. So you've done some other work, which is
yes.
not seascapes, which are and so what's the inspiration behind this? Did you fancy doing something different, or did you just think,
Yeah, I actually did one for myself, for my own lounge. I think that's where it started, and I really
hmm,
liked it, really enjoyed the process. But I'm somebody who hates wasting paint. So at the end of every painting session, if there's any paint left on my palette, I will scrape it onto bits of copy paper and make amazing patterns and all the rest of it. And then I keep all those bits of paper, and then I have a whole drawer full of collage paper, which I can then cut up and make collages. So with those, there's the background is then painted with normal acrylics and things like that, and some texture. And then I will cut up my painted papers to stick on as vessels or flowers. Yeah, that one's oranges are not the only fruit. So yeah.
so did you do you do prints of these works as well?
I've just started doing prints this year for some of
Good,
the work. Yeah.
good.
So I've
I'm
got about 10 I've had photographed and scanned already for the Giclée prints and fine art prints. And
Yeah, so I'm a real big believer in artists such as yourself doing some small prints, because you will find that there are people that can't afford to buy
yeah,
your work, but
yeah,
if they buy a print, it's on the wall, someone else sees it who then might buy your work. Um, and the more your work gets out there, of course, the more people know it. And prints, they're not that. not that expensive to have printed, but you can sell them for a reasonable price. That obviously is not as much as your original work, but it does give someone the opportunity to
Yeah,
have
have
them. I mean,
fun
I've
for it.
bought a couple of Leslie Oldacre's prints. Can't afford to buy her her actual artwork, and it's amazing. But it was
Yeah,
so amazing to me that I did want to buy a couple of prints off her, which are sitting on my dining room wall. It's and I like the fact that we can do that.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
I took a long time getting around to the idea of prints because I felt I had so much original work for sale. Why would I want to add to that by having prints? But then I realised that price wise, people like my work, but that's quite an investment to spend that much to have an original piece.
yeah.
And who am I? I'm not anyone known yet, so yeah, the prints is definitely the way forward. And I worked that out in the last 3 months. I've sold a lot of prints.
Yeah, and I find it interesting. It's with some of mine, I've got a big picture of an airship as an example, and I'll have a man who will be standing looking at it for ages and go, "Oh, I really want that picture," and then he says the words that, as soon as he says them, I know I never see him again, which is, "I'll just run it past my wife," and I know I know that that's it. He's not coming back. Um, and you do get that, don't you? You get people that come, that couples that are standing there,
Oh yeah,
and they have to agree. They have to agree that it's
yeah,
going to be going on their wall. So one of the things I always do is, especially as mine need light, is I will deliver the actual artwork, and so that I can then talk about where it goes. But do you, to some degree, if people are coming to you to buy
yeah. I
yours,
actually local people. I'll actually take a whole load
yeah,
of art
yeah,
and sort of hold it on their wall, or if they've got a pin to put there, literally try it before they buy it.
yeah, I
And
think that's really
yeah,
important, and it shows how much you care about your work, in my view.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
So
I think
sometimes
that's
a work
brilliant.
just won't work in a particular. It needs to be something much bigger, or because of the space, or it needs to be something smaller, or different colorways. But you don't necessarily have to have a painting to match your sofa. But if it does, it's good.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is true.
It's a bonus there, isn't it?
It's a bonus. I think that, in most cases, though, really, artwork often becomes a real conversation piece, and I think that's
Yeah,
why some artists sell better than others. It just depends, and it depends what grabs the person who's looking at it as to whether they want to buy it.
there's a lot of
Bef-
art that I'd love to look at, but I wouldn't want it on my wall.
no, I agree. Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree. I
it's
mean, as I've said before, and because we've spoken, but I'm a technical artist, so that actually I'm quite interested in technique for other artists, because you've already said you use the dog's flea brush, or
yeah,
you know last week's artist um, put her work in the shower, so
yeah.
she got all the background running off, and I was like, "You do what?" But yeah, takes it in the shower. So it's really it's quite amazing to me, the techniques that people go through
I
just
will
to
try
produce a
lots of
bit of
different.
work.
Yeah, and I'll use spray paint as well, and I'll take it outside, and yeah,
Yeah. But I think that's you developing, rather than just throwing out the same thing every time. And okay, there's another. Oh, let's sell this one. That'll do, etc. In
yeah.
fact, we've got a comment here which says, very varied. Sally Wimpress. I'm not sure if half of these people are your friends or family are on here today, but it's yeah, it's and thank you all for watching. It Talk me through this one.
Okay, so on in Teignmouth, as you know, I love Teignmouth. They have an
I'd
arts.
never have guessed.
Yeah, they have an arts trail that goes all the way down through the seafront. So you have about 15 different exhibits of sculptures, but they all have to be made from recycled or natural products, and they have to give a message. So I had this idea. It's one of these ideas just popped into my head from nowhere, that I wanted to make a phoenix from driftwood. So that's all made from driftwood I found on the beach.
Wow.
and the wings are a broken fence panel, just little cut sections. But with the help of somebody locally, I sort of put it together. But I've never done anything like it before. It was a complete one-off, and it managed to survive the whole summer on the seafront with the storm
Brilliant.
and everything, and it won the Public Choice Award. So
Oh, brilliant.
I'm chuffed to bits, yeah.
Yeah, I bet you are. Yeah, I would be too. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
The
you've
message
got.
was, the rising phoenix, to give hope, that we will rise above climate change. So
I
again,
was.
I think most of what
Yeah,
I stand for is be positive, be hopeful. It's everything's going to happen. We've got to just adapt and survive.
and that kind of. I was about to come on to that. So, quite a lot of your work is sort of got that in sitting in the background, hasn't it? It's and I
Yeah,
noticed that from your website too. We've got another one here, which is so. I think these next couple that we've got are certainly give that feel that you've just been talking about.
yeah,
Um, so it's your big sweeping strokes. Everybody looking at this straight away would know it's yours, which I think this is the having a consistency of your work is something that's it really is important that people can actually walk in to say 80 artists in an exhibition, and if no artists were there, they would be able to walk around and go, there's Amanda's,
yeah.
and
I
because
think
of
visitors tend to say that more than I realise myself, because I think the work is very different. But yeah, there's a running theme, I guess. And that's the nest. So that's actually started off as an abstract, and then my abstract looked so much like the nest. I actually then made it look like the nest, which is a bit of rock that sits out in Sheldon in the opposite. So it's what Timoth people look at. So that is a rock that looks just like that.
So I'm thinking that quite a lot of what I'm actually going through here is already sold. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it might be.
Yeah.
I thought it
But
might
so
be.
a lot of them, like that one, sold, but I've got prints. So I'm doing
Yeah,
prints. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. This one's
This is the one where I actually did take it from a photograph. I started the canvas. It was a big, giant 1.2 meter canvas, and it just reminded me with my initial strokes of a photograph. And it was a photographer, local photographer called Claire Walpole, and it was a black and white photo, but it had that sort of cloudscape with a view across the bridge. So I then made that painting into that scene.
so I think this one might have come up because the Wizard of Art is on again this week. Paolo,
Ah,
yeah, I think that was the one he was talking about. I just missed the comment come up, but yeah, Paolo. Well, from
yes, I love
Marylebone in the
Paolo.
summer. Yeah, he's a fantastic man. Love him to bits. He's absolutely fantastic. And then also Di Levy has also come in. Look, an awesome.
Uh,
Yeah, so you got which is these are the sort of things, and these are the sort of people that you want behind you. To be fair, what have we got here? So going back to that one, which is the nest, which is this one. Here we go. That's a good question for you.
yeah, yeah, because it was an abstract, but it just reminded me of the nest. So yeah, it's in there. There's all these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quite often paint something with no plan or any photo, but it looks like something that is recognisable.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I often say that we're influenced every single day by and bombarded by stuff left, right, and centre
Yeah,
from every direction, and at some point, some of that's going to leave an imprint that you could then bring up at a later date in one of your pieces and not really know why it's there, but it's this is what's happened. I do like this one.
that one actually sold on its preview, so it never even got onto my website. It was taken to
Wow.
a gallery in Torquay, and on
Yeah.
the preview night, it sold
Yeah.
within 10 minutes. But
Yeah, yeah, I like
I
it.
don't
I
know if
like
you
this
could
one.
just about notice it did have a yacht on it, and I decided, I think probably about 2 hours before I took it, that I didn't like the boat, and managed to paint over it. And I
Oh,
like that
yeah.
ghost of a boat there.
I was going to say, I can now you've said it, it's obvious, but
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, very, very cool. What we got? Oh, we're getting close. Got about 14-ish minutes left. What I'm going to do is just give people a bit of a flavour of your website. I know you said you got to update
yeah.
it, but they also need to know where they can find you. So this is your website. You can see here by clicking on these different parts of it, all the different pieces of work that you've got for sale are actually sitting there. And people can have a look at that. And this is what we like to see: sold, sold, sold.
Yeah.
And there looks to be quite a bit of work on there. As you said, you are prolific
Yes.
in what you do. But the thing that we haven't spoken about at all, and I'm going to go to your other Instagram page, not your the
Amanda.
one for this not for
Yeah.
this work. So, but this one, which is Collage by Amanda. Um, let's have a little bit of insight as to how you ended up doing this collage work.
Again, that started in the lockdown, and there's something called Februarage, which is a challenge of doing a collage a day for 30 days through February, and or Februarage, yeah. So and you were given a theme. So I don't know if you can just about work out. There's one with Donald Trump there carving his own.
Yeah,
Yeah, but a lot of them were just silly because I haven't got a stupid sense of humour. So I would just randomly cut things out of magazines and then put my stuff. Sometimes there was a bit of paint involved, but quite often it was just different images cut up, making up a collage. But yeah, I realised that they didn't particularly go with the other artwork, so I set up my own page. And the prompt for that was popcorn, so it just reminded me of the old movies. So yeah. They're all a bit silly. Well, a lot of them are silly, but some are, yeah, like the Van Gogh sunflowers.
yeah. But again, it's so with your look. If we jump back to here, with all of this type of work that you do here, you can see straight away that's you. But
Yeah,
you've done something similar with this in some respects, because when you're doing stuff like this, people are going to know that it's you because there's still a style about it. It might be something completely different to your other work,
yeah.
but there is a style about it that would
Oh, that's nice
indicate
to hear. Yeah,
it's the same person that's done this, if you see what I mean.
yeah,
Yeah, it's yeah, proper interesting. And I as we were talking before we came on about about sort of diversification and doing something a little bit different, but it's not that you um change your style as such. I have to do something different. It's still doing the same thing, but the theme behind it's different, just to give myself a break from the other stuff.
mm,
You can and especially if you're turning out the amount of work that you do, then you must be in a similar position. You're doing what you're doing with all your acrylic work, etc., and your mixed media stuff, and then you think, you know what, I'll do a bit of collage this week,
yeah.
just to give your
Well,
brain
the
a bit of a
collages,
rest.
literally, I would do a collage in an hour.
Yeah,
So yeah, they're all quite small,
yeah.
and yeah. But
So
I just love what I'm doing at the moment, and I'm every morning, well, most mornings. I mean, there's the odd morning when I'm hanging, but I'm actually excited to get into my studio and do something and put some paint down or cut up some papers or do something. I've lost you.
no, you haven't lost me. I've just
Uh,
put my you full screen.
Scary.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'm just down the bottom here. I'm not going anywhere. Um, how many pictures are you working on at any one time?
I tend to do 2 at once. So unless it's a really big one, then it might be just the one. But and I think that might be because I'm a mother of twins, and also because if I'm working on 2 at the same time, then they hang nicely together, and also I don't overwork one, because if I'm working on one piece, I can get too pernickety at the end, and then I overwork it, and it loses all its energy and spontaneity, and all those lovely juicy marks that I started are all too finessed. So if I've got 2 on the go, I then go from one to the other, and then not overworking them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, if I'm personally, I tend to work on just one picture, unless it is a monster. Where I've got 2,000 layers in Photoshop, and it takes months. I need a break from that.
Yeah,
But generally, when I'm just doing a particular picture, it'll be just that one I work on, because I think um, the trouble is I get excited about a picture, and if I start getting excited about another one, the excitement on the first one starts to wane, and I think, oh God, I've got to get that finished. It's kind of, I'd rather get it done, move on to the next. Yeah, it's quite interesting how we all work very differently. And quite honestly, quite a lot of the artists that I have interviewed are abstract artists.
yeah,
Um, and every single one of you is abstract in a different way. It's quite amazing. I've already said Paolo's on here. There are stories in his abstract. They're
yeah,
abstract, but once you start talking about the story jumps out of it,
yeah, yeah,
and it's quite interesting. And although yours, let's just go back to um, this one as an example. Yes, it is abstract, but it's still there. You know what it
yeah.
is.
There's recognisable elements in mine.
Yes,
It's not
yes,
not
exactly.
Pollock or anything. So
No, and I can kind of I
it's an
can
abstracted realism,
yeah.
or an expressionism. Yeah, it's you can see it's coastal. You can, yeah, it's but it
Now,
come
just,
from my head.
and just looking at this one, is there a bit of dog flea brush going across there at the top there, or is that a different
Um,
something else you've used?
oh no, yeah, there's definitely there was some scratched in marks, but a bit too uniform for the dog flea brush, that one. I
Oh,
think
okay.
might have been my nails. Use those as well, but yeah, I
So
have
yeah.
lots of tools and
So
random.
do you also get to a point where you try something and you think, oh dear, okay, I'm not going to do that again. That really doesn't
Yeah, oh,
work.
I do that all the time.
Yeah,
I push things, and I
yeah,
think, well, what if I do that? Oh, what if I add that? And sometimes
yeah.
I completely mess it up,
It's
and then
true. It is.
start again.
Yeah, it's the only way to actually.
I
It's
think that's
on.
the biggest tip I would give to any artist is don't be afraid to fail, because if you're not
Yeah,
failing, you're not growing.
this is what I say.
Yeah,
I do a lot of talks, and and one thing I do say is, look, the worst thing that can happen is you actually learn something,
yeah,
and that it really doesn't matter. And also, we all go through these sort of phases of, am I good enough? And actually, it really doesn't. It doesn't come into it. It
no,
doesn't matter. The first time somebody buys one of your pictures proves you're good enough.
yeah,
If
yeah,
and to be honest, you've got to have the courage to put them up for sale.
yeah.
That's the biggest stumbling block. The
Oh,
biggest thing of
I'm
all.
nervous because I actually had my first solo, which just seems crazy, in my second year. So I started painting in 2020, and in 2021, one of the local galleries, Voyage Gallery in Teignmouth, gave me a whole room to hang my artwork in for a month. And I was blown away. They actually asked me if I'd like to do it because they'd seen my work online. And
Yeah.
I thought, oh, it's like scary. but I did it and I had really lovely feedback. So
It is scary, and until someone
I've
does,
been painting for less than a year. So yeah.
yeah. But I don't. I see. I'm a firm believer in the fact that it doesn't matter actually how long you've been painting. It doesn't matter whether you've got all sorts of qualifications or anything like that. At the end of the day, does that person like your picture enough to buy it?
Yeah.
And that it doesn't matter, unless you are pushing the fact that you've been into all these Royal Academy of Art and all the rest of it. It's kind of immaterial because that doesn't necessarily either make you a, a sellable artist.
No, there's
All
a
that,
really
all
clever artwork out there, but again, like I said, it might not be what somebody would want in their lounge.
it's what it all comes down to. And I think, and I say this quite a lot. People that have watched this before will know that I say this. Is that often your artists don't understand they're selling a product, and there will be a buyer out there that wants your product that you've sold, but you've got to sell it. You've got to sell it as a product. It's not, don't. Was one exhibition I did where one artist just stood there when he was reading the paper, and I said to him, "Do you not want to talk to people?" And he went, "My art does the talking." I went, "But it's not, is it? Let's be fair. It's
Yeah.
not. It's got a voice. You're its voice. What's the matter with you?" And that's one of the things that frustrates me. But we are two business people that have come into the art world,
Yes. Yeah.
and it's
I've
it's a
always been,
different.
yeah, I've always
Yeah,
been quite resourceful, I suppose, and
yeah.
yeah, yeah, I
So
don't.
it becomes a little bit. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, there are an
Yes, you've.
awful lot of good artists out there that are complete introverts and just can't handle discussing
Yeah,
their work.
no, and
Yeah.
I feel that it then becomes a.
Well, they're the ones that need the galleries to speak
Right,
for.
I'll give
Yeah.
prime example. Unfortunately, my father passed away almost this time last year. It's his birthday. Would have been his 90th birthday on Saturday.
Oh,
But he was a landscape artist.
okay.
Really, really good. Really good. But the minute he started selling them and he started to have to paint to order, he
Uh,
stopped. He stopped. He
yeah.
said, "No, I'll do this
No,
for
I
enjoyment."
never paint to order. No.
But people wanted to buy his work, and then they would say, "Oh God, I want that one," and he'll say, "Oh well, I've painted that for somebody. Well, can you paint another one?"
Yeah, I
Thinking,
just
well,
can't paint
you
to
know,
order. I do
yeah,
commission, and
mm,
I actually enjoy commissions weirdly because it's
mm,
a challenge. I think because I think of myself still as a young artist because I've only had 4 years experience. If
mm,
somebody says they want a particular piece and explain how they want it, to
mm.
me that's exciting because I'm thinking, oh, I've not done anything like that before. Oh, I can't wait to try it. But I do have a no obligation. So if I completely mess it up, which thankfully I haven't yet, then they don't have to pay me a penny. But obviously that's not very lucrative later on. I need to have contracts in place. But I've done probably about 30 commissions for people, and yeah, they've been very happy with them. But I've literally listened to their brief and painted to order. But that's one.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to churn it out. I like
no.
the idea of a one-off because it's something new.
I mean, he just felt that it taken away the enjoyment of painting for him, and he when I was a kid, he brilliant at drawing, fantastic at drawing, but he didn't really do anything. It wasn't until later in life actually that he started, when he had more time, actually sitting there
Well, I hope you
doing
kept
some
them all.
fantastic. Sorry.
I hope you've kept them all.
Oh, my mum's got a load of them. We've all the family have got
Yeah,
have got
an
some of
awful
his
lot of artists who
paintings.
didn't get discovered till after they're gone.
Yeah, no, and that's true as well. It's quite interesting talking about you can't sell anything unless you put it in an exhibition or a gallery or something. When I am doing talks across the country, one of the things I do say to the people I'm talking to is, right, how many of you in the room have got a loft or a computer full of pictures? All put their hand up. And then I say, how many of you are selling them? None. And it's all because they haven't got the courage to do it. They say, "Oh no, how do you price it? Where do you start?" And
Yeah.
you kind of just got to think, well, I think, well, I'd be happy to pay that for that. It's very difficult. Pricing's always a difficult thing, which you're not going to get into.
No.
But it's quite a difficult thing. Look, I told you, didn't I? The hour's gone.
Right. Well, thank you, Gary.
Yeah, I told you it doesn't. It doesn't. It goes really quickly, and we've had a lot to talk about, from dragon boats racing right through to sculptures on the beach, and your amazing artwork. Um, I'm a fan. I've been a
Thank
fan
you.
since the first time we met, which was at the one on the O2 Peninsula. Was the first one I think
Yes.
I did
Yeah.
with you. Yeah, and do love your work. Always, as I said, always have. I think I just like the fact that
Maybe we
actually,
have to do a little swapsy, Gary.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
maybe.
now, maybe get one of those ones with Jane and Dawn in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like a nice
Well,
bottom.
yeah, and that's exactly what Jane said to me, which is how she ended up being in those
Yeah,
pictures.
yeah, yeah. You like your bottoms.
Yeah, well, she said that her lecturer at uni told her she was completely obsessed with bottoms, but yeah, and look, everybody loves a nice bottom, let's be fair.
Yes.
And I'm probably end up having to cut this bit out of this at the end of it, but let's not go far further down that route. So look, thanks very much. Don't rush away. I'm gonna take you out of the actual
Okay.
stream while I say goodbye to everybody, and then we'll just have a quick little chat afterwards. But Amanda, thank you so much for coming on,
Thank
and
you.
hope that everybody that's been on has enjoyed your talk.
Yeah,
I know you thought that they would be bored to death, but I don't
yeah.
believe they will be, because it's
I
been
don't know
very
anyone who listens to me
interesting.
on.
It's another thing we do, isn't it, artists? We always put ourselves down a bit, but you've been brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on. And so don't run away. I'll have a chat with you in a sec.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Bye bye.
So there you go. Told you it was going to be a good one. Um, and you will be able to. I believe that Amanda has actually got herself into the next Flux exhibition, which is in Marylebone. I'll bring that back up again. It's and submissions are open. If you're an artist out there that's looking to do an exhibition, submit your work through fluxexhibition.com. There's a link in there that you can send your stuff through to Lisa. Lisa is in that picture is the gorgeous lady on the right hand side, next to three other gorgeous ladies, which always do flux. Katerina in the middle. I'm going to be doing another interview with her actually, and the other two are quite often at Flux, because we like a little bit of people walking around at the private view, which is what that's come from. Just a quick little reminder again, this is my guest next week, Cheryl Walsh Art. Quite staggering, the work that she does. Puts a wetsuit on, gets into a swimming pool, and all the people that she photographs all get dressed up like that, jump in the other end. I'm making it sound very simple, but it's not. And she is underwater, holds her breath, doesn't have a snorkel or anything like that. She holds her breath, takes her shots, and we will be talking about that next week. So all that's left for me now is to just say thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.